Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now, and it's time to start the query segment. We are facing a bit of a technical issue with the WhatsApp number, which we are fixing right now. In the interim, we'll start queries from the other sources. But before we start with queries, let me first go across to you, Kunal, because there are a lot of our viewers who play on the futures side also, and they're placing bets on the current series. How should they position themselves as far as the index is concerned?
I think it's too volatile to try and take a bet over here, Alex. There are a lot of factors. So, forget about the news flow, but just the data points, the statistical data points which you look out for doesn't make, trading in these kind of markets very, very, I would say fruitful. Now, typically what happens is when the market gets into a sharp downtrend, there is always a speculative aspect of a trader which tends to wake up. So people, they tend to buy the call options or the put options. Now for them, one of the biggest hindrance point is that the VIX or the implied volatility, which we typically call it as an IV, those are levels at 31, 34 for the index. Now for individual constituents of stocks, not just the Nifty 50, but even the rest of the FNO stocks, the inherent IVs are far more higher than what the implied VIX, which is an indicative of the overall market sentiment or the as an average as such. So the IVs for stocks are also far more higher. Now when you're buying into an option, whether it's a call, whether it's a put option at current levels, you're buying into an IV which is almost 32, 33 kind of levels on an average. Now when you buy at such high IVs, even if the view gets right, but if the IV starts to get into a downtrend, so if it comes to say 31, 30 or 29 levels, the value of the option starts to deteriorate significantly. So which is why trading into this market, even if it's a speculative bet or even if it's using options on the buy side, may actually not turn out to be a good trade as such.
Okay, Kunal, surely our viewers are going to keep all those points in mind. Sharmila, but I'm going to come to you. We have a query coming in from Kathiraman. Okay, now they want your view on Sundar Technologies. At the current price, how does it look to you for a long term? Given that Tesla issue in India, is it still worth getting into the stock?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the stock name.
Sundar Technologies.
Sundar Technologies. So they have the stock or they want to buy it?
To buy at current price.
First of all, I think my advice stands in the sense that, what I said earlier, that you need to sort of wait a little bit before you buy, simply because the current situation is volatile. And I think coming to this stock specifically, yes, I think once once we are sort of, when you get a sense that because let's also not forget that a lot of these mid caps have taken a bigger hit than some of the large caps. If you've been tracking the markets over the last couple of weeks, the pain and cuts in mid caps has been far greater. So I think wait a bit, you will see lower levels on this. But in terms of the kind of numbers they've done and the profitability, they're like average. So it's not a stock that in a runaway even in that sense. So if you want to buy it, I think wait for a while, and once you get a sense that buying is coming back into mid cap ideas, that's when you should relook at Sundar Technologies.
All right, we've got several mail queries that are coming in. We've got one coming from Varghese from Trivandrum from Kerala, and he's saying that he's bought 180 shares of Cadila Healthcare at the rate of 507 rupees per share. He's wondering whether to hold or exit at this point. Since he hasn't mentioned his time horizon, Sharmila, I'll come to you on the fundamentals. How does it look? Should he hold on?
I think certainly. Again, not perhaps my favorite stock within the pharma space. But I think at this point in time, the advice would be to wait, especially if he's a longer term investor. Because I think that you should see this stock moving back to around 410, 450 sort of level. So I think for now it's a hold.
Now I'm going to come to you now. Kansha wants to know, should they short Nifty March series for a target of around 15,800 coming in very short term till Monday?
So I think if it's a high risk kind of a trade and the viewer is ready to take a risk over here of maybe a 600 point kind of a stop loss, then I think it makes sort of a good trade over here. because the Nifty has time and again shown some good support at that 16,800-850 mark. Now we are just about some 180 200 points away from that 16,800 levels for the Nifty. So if there is any kind of a recovery intraday, then it would make sense for you to try and look out for more shorting opportunities. But at current levels, if you're looking out for 800 points on the downside, the stop loss would be almost 600 points, 650 points on the upside. So that may not turn out to be a good trade, which is why I'm indicating that I think at current levels, trying to initiate trade could actually not to be a good risk reward play. If you're looking to sell or go short, assuming for the March series, then I believe a much better level would be closer to 16,800, 850 mark.
Okay. We've got another question coming in from Hari, and he's writing in all the way from Abu Dhabi. Thanks so much, Hari, for writing in. He's got L&T Infotech at levels of 5,900, or rather, he's wondering whether to buy at the current price, which is 5,694. It's down today in trade. Kunal, would you wait for a bit, or would you enter at this price?
I think at current levels, I'll start nibbling into these stocks now. L&T Infotech, L&T Technology Services, there are so many, there are in fact plethora of the mid-cap IT names which had done exceptionally well from their March 20 lows. So I think in that aspect, this becomes the stronger sector or the performing sector when you look at it from a longer term perspective. Now these stocks have started to show the first quarter of correction. I think if I can use that word, the last 2 months have been more corrective phase for L&T Infotech. So I'll start off, what I'll advise is that start off buying at current levels, but then keep some powder dry in case if the market gets into a further corrective phase. And assuming if L&T Infotech corrects by another 10 to 15% from current levels, that should be the second point where you can look to average, provided your time horizon for both of those investments or tranches could be long term.
Right. Sharmila, I'm going to come to you. We have a query from Abhishek who's asking about Mirza International. How is it looking to for you in terms of the stock for a long-term view? They're currently holding 500 shares at around 160 rupees per share. So what should they be doing? Should they continue to hold them?
Yes, I think you can continue to hold Mirza International. I think once again, as I said, these are the stocks that could typically take time. But I was just taking a quick look at the numbers, the quarterly as well as the annual, and they seem to be pretty good. So from a valuation perspective, the stock looks fine. So I think continue to hold.
Okay. We've got a question coming in from Shiva. He's holding on to IEX, and this is at levels of 279. He's wondering whether to hold at this point or to book his losses. Very volatile counter, Kunal, and especially over the last 6 months, it has displayed that. What should Shiva do with this trade?
So I think I would suggest to try and look to average out the stock. Now I understand that the stock is high beta. It's been one of the top performing stocks in the previous year. I think from 2021 the stock was at some 75 or 80 rupees, and from there it had climbed up to almost 300, 325 in the previous year. So I think from that angle, if you look at it, the stock has gone into a decent correction for itself from 325 to 200. So I'll suggest to start looking to average out at current levels. But again, as I said earlier, that keeps the powder dry in case if the markets gets into a further corrective phase. You might probably get these stocks at slightly lower levels. So you can look to average out more, if the stock corrects, say assuming closer to 170, 175. So I'll advise to start averaging at current levels and keep some powder dry in case if the stock comes to 170, 175, look to average it out further there.
Okay, Kunal, I'm going to come to you again. Actually, we have a query from Magesh who's asking about SP Apparels. They're holding for 2,000 quantities at 454 rupees. For a short to medium term view, what is your view coming in on the stock?
Well, I would suggest to book out profits over here or wait out for some sort of bounce into these names as a good level where you can look to exit. The stock has had performed very well, but then now when you look at the phase of the markets, I think it makes prudent sense to look at some solid large cap names and the ones which have been most sturdy in terms of price performance. So I would suggest that any kind of a bounce which you get into these names, you should look to exit.
Okay. let's take another question. We've got Solara, which is the stock, if I'm not mistaken, that has done quite well for itself over a period of more than a year. I'm just pulling up the share price as we speak. This is a question coming in from, I'm just trying to pull that up. I don't see the name. Bought at levels of 1800. Apologies. He's lost a lot of ground. Kunal, what should he do? He's holding since the last 7 months and he's losing a lot of ground.
At this price and at this positioning of the stock, it becomes very difficult to try and give an advice, because the stocks is at a I think multi-month low for itself. From 1800, the stock has corrected to 690, 700, where it's currently trading right now. So it's already gone through a painful correction of almost 1100 rupees from those previous major highs. So I think at current levels it will be very, very difficult, because possibly the stock can get into a minor bounce for itself. The volumes have been high for Solara. The stock has stabilized the correction. So I'll suggest a wait and watch approach over here at current levels, not to look at panic selling over here. Let the stock stabilize, let the volatility correct itself, and let the stock come back towards, say, 850, 900 levels. That could be a better point where you can probably make a decision whether you want to exit or look out for some improvement, whether it's in terms of fundamentals or in terms of price patterns. As of now, I'll suggest a hold.
Okay, Sharmila, I'm going to come to you. Sridevi from Chennai has purchased Union Bank at around 44 rupees. What is your view coming in on the stock? What should they be doing, long-term, short-term view?
So I will give a long-term view, and overall, what we've really seen is that some of the PSU banks have declared fairly decent numbers in this quarter. So my favorites outright within the space, of course, would be SBI, Bank of Baroda, and PNB. So the sort of middling kind of numbers Union Bank has had. So I would really recommend a switch, and I think if you want to stay invested in the PSU space, shift over to a Bank of Baroda.
Okay, I've finally got access to the WhatsApp number, and there are, as expected, a lot of messages that are pending. The first one that I'm taking is from Kasturi Ranjan, and he's asking about Apollo Pipes, which he bought before the rights issue. Sharmila is saying that he bought at levels of 1,768. He's wondering what to do, or whether there's another stock that would be more lucrative to hold from the portfolio point of view.
The fancy for all these pipe companies was, the fact that the government was sort of promoting the whole water to every house sort of a thing. So it meant that pipes would be in demand. I think the company that I like within the space is Finolex Pipes. But the numbers and I was just taking a quick look at the numbers of Apollo Pipes, and the quarter numbers are not that great, but year on year they seem to have done okay. So I think there could be a further downside in this stock, but in terms of valuation, it looks okay.
Now I'm going to come to you. We have a query coming in from Sagar, and he sold 16,500 PE 24 Feb series at 90 rupees. Now it's currently trading at 35. So just wants an intraday view on that. Should he hold or exit?
You can hold 16,500 could actually turn out to be a reasonable intraday base for the index. And the other reason for that is that I think he shorted a call, he shorted a put option. So I think in that sense he's shorted, I'm assuming, at a much higher IVs, when the IVs were approximately 32, 33. So that could also play to an advantage. Now, since it's an current expiry call, today's expiry, and the volatility seems to stabilize, that's why I believe that possibly the markets can close above that 16,500 put option. So I would suggest to hold on.
Okay, we've got a question coming from Ram, and he points out this is his surname. He's asking about HDFC AMC, which he's bought at a level of 2,600. He's asking why it is underperforming. Sharmila, do you have a view on this one?
Well, I like the stock, but I think that all the three, whether it was insurance, whether it is AMC, whether it is HDFC Limited, HDFC Bank, they seem to be going through some sort of pain in terms of stock price. and all these stocks were getting premium valuation. So perhaps some of this correction was warranted because sort of is bringing it back to mean. But we do have a major mutual fund, SBI mutual fund, which is getting geared for a public for their listing. So I'm sure it will sort of add sort of excitement in the sector again. And in any case, it's a name I like, so I think he can continue to hold the stock.
Kunal, we have a query coming in from Vinita, and this is on Tata Motors. Now, she's holding 1,000 shares at 490 rupees. So, could you please advise on the short-term, long-term view, and should she be looking to average them out or wait at current levels?
To wait, not to average at current levels. My sense is that the stock can drift a bit more lower from current levels. I think 430, 435 could be a next possible support zone for Tata Motors. So I would not suggest an averaging out at current levels and wait out for levels of 430, 435 to try and look to average out stock at those levels.
Okay. Kunal, Sharmila, it's time to hit the rapid fire segment and we'll try and take as many questions as possible. Kunal, the first one's for you. Galaxy Surfactants is the name of the stock. We've got Mr. Sitaram Ganesh who has asked about this particular counter. It's down about 19% from his buy price. Should he add more at this point?
You can look to add at current levels. I think 2,500, 550 seems to be a good support base for the stock. So at 2,700, 2,770, you can look to average it out.
Sharmila, ML wants to know Bajaj Finance at current price for long term. Should they wait or buy?
Again, I think this is a stock that you can start buying slowly, but don't buy the entire amount right away.
Okay, Indus Towers. This is a question coming in from Chandan Jain. And he's asking whether it can be bought with a target of 250. Kunal, what do you say?
I suggest an avoid. I think the stock has exhibited a lot of weakness and it's a stock which tends to be more volatile on the downside. I'll suggest an avoid.
Okay. Sharmila, KJ Singh is asking a long-term view on Bosch India. Can they average at this price? They have 5 shares at 17,500 per share.
No, I don't think average, but continue to hold what you have.
Okay, we've got Sandeep who's asking about Radico Khaitan and whether it can be bought for the long term. Sharmila, what's the view?
Yes, you can buy Radico Khaitan for the long term, but again try and buy it on dip.
Kunal, Abhishek wants to know your technical view on previous specialty chemicals. What would you be looking at? How is that stock buy? What should they be doing?
At current levels, I would suggest an avoid, but I think if the stock dips below 200 DMA, it should be around 1700 mark or slightly lower than that. That could be a good level to enter.
Okay, Vodafone Idea bought at levels of 10.1, bought 1 year back and 15,000 quantity. Arjun's asking Kunal, should he hold on?
I'll suggest a switch from Vodafone Idea to Bharti Airtel with the same value.
With that, it's an end to this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now's queries. Thank you so much, Sharmila, as well as Kunal, for as always giving us your expert view. But with that, viewers, we will take your queries tomorrow, so stay tuned in for that. And we will take a short break before we go on to more on the market side.